Okay, good morning, everybody. Glad to see you as always. I want to get started with our agenda this morning. I've added a couple of things that are not on the page here, but um, let's just jump into it. So again, I want to just remind everybody that I do send out, and I think you all know because you're probably tired of seeing my emails, but I do send out my newsletter, and I try to capture most of what people talk about at the meeting, and usually and include the chats and summaries and all of that sort of stuff. So if you either missed the meeting or you heard some things that you were interested in, or you heard somebody you wanted to catch up with, all of that information is in my recaps. So I just wanted to remind you about that. And then kind of what's on the agenda today. So I want to do some updates, of course, as always, from the Broadband Office, Department of Education, the State Library. And then I want to say a special thanks to Karen Ziegler with Karen Ziegler Consulting and Heather Floyd with Valley Telecom Group, who have graciously provided funding for me to be able to attend the Digital Inclusion Conference
Aw.
next week. So it's really great. I was wondering if I was going to be able to be there. So they have come up with some funding for me. So I greatly appreciate that. And then we're going to hear from Lucy Howe, um, who's the CEO of the Force for Health Network, that she and I are collaborating on developing an AZBSN and Force for Health Network education, uh, health and education task force. Give us an update about that. And then we're going to hear from Andy Ridley about Win Learning and what they're doing and a lot of the work that Andy's been in this game for a long time, even before he went to Win Learning. And then just reminders about the Net Inclusion Conference coming up, and then any updates about what's happening in Washington. And then I do like to remind people that Paul Ross did this amazing video, um, AZ Broadband Closing the Digital Divide, Wired, Wireless, and Digital, and I've been including links forever. It's a great video, and if you haven't seen it, you should take a couple of minutes to do that. Paul, thank you again for making that happen. So, Aaron, before I get into your updates, I want to, Jared, are you there? Jared, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I took me a second to find the mute button,
No
unmute button.
problem. So, Jared, you want to introduce yourself quickly and again, just remind people about the great project you guys got going on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm the executive director with AZ Strut, Arizona Students Recycling Use Technology. And one of our latest initiatives is to help make sure that people are able to also get connected online. So we've reached out with T-Mobile, and what we're offering now is an opportunity to get people internet broadband in their home through T-Mobile. We provide the devices. We're actually the official customer of T-Mobile, and so we're lending these devices at a discount rate to anyone who's interested. It's a flat rate of $35 a month. And it's not one of those things where you have to prove eligibility. You don't have to have something renewed annually. It's as long as you want to be on the program for a flat rate of 35. It's going really well. We've had really no issues. We're expanding. And the only limitation that we might run into is we might run out of devices that we have on hand to lend out. We can get unlimited SIM cards um, with the arrangement we have. So the only funding that we would eventually need to work out is how to get more devices when we get to the point that we run out. Currently, though, we're still good on that. So if anyone's interested, keep contacting us or sending your friends our way. The link to find out more is azstrut.org/internet. And I'll put that in the chat as well.
Great. Thanks, Jared. And again, maybe you did this, but just remind people that this is available statewide.
Yeah, and actually it works nationwide as well. So if you happen to want to move out of the state and you're on our program, you can stay on it. It's no problem.
Yeah, it's a great project. I don't do this very often, but I've been highlighting him in my newsletter every week because I think it's just a great resource that people throughout the state can take advantage of. So thank you, Jared. I think it's a great project.
I'll just
Thank
say
you.
I'm a happy customer out here in the East Side. on Sonoran Desert. Mm-hmm.
So there you have it, testimonial. Okay, so let's move on. Aaron, you want to, of course, as you know, I don't think I have to tell you anymore to introduce yourself and and then give us a quickie update, please.
You can't see it, but I have a gigantic sign above my desk at home to remind myself to introduce myself.
I
Good
always tell
morning,
people I have
everyone.
a good memory, just a little short.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Erin Lorandos, and I'm the Digital Equity Program Manager here at the Arizona Commerce Authority in the State Broadband Office. On the DE side, we have wrapped up both of our roundtables introducing the subgrant process. Those recordings are on our website, and I'll drop a link to those in a moment, along with all of the questions that were asked in both sessions and the answers. We are looking forward to opening our subgrant process on May 1st. Those will be, the window will be open through the end of June, and there's no extra points for submitting on May 1st. So take your time. It's all good. We will review everything once that window closes. And as a reminder, this is one of our main implementation strategies for the digital equity plan. So we hope to see a lot of, thoughtful, creative, wonderful applications from organizations across the state that are doing this work already. We want to support that. So I think that's about it for me. Unless there are questions, let me know.
Aaron, do you happen to know if there's who might be applying for cybersecurity?
I have no idea. I mean,
Okay.
I won't
Okay.
see the applications as they come in either. So it'll be
I was just wondering if any people had talked with you.
I mean, I've had conversations for the last 2 years about this stuff, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say that,
Okay.
who said what.
Okay. That's
No,
fine.
because and as a reminder for that, it's important to remember that in contrast to, for example, how the BEAD subgrants work, I'm not limited to one approved application per goal or anything like that. So if you've got an idea, please send it my way, and we will evaluate them and hopefully we'll find lots of really great opportunities. So,
Well,
but yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, that was it. I was just gonna say I think that's it.
Well, I am going to be looking at, I have a call into Ryan Murray at Homeland Security and also to the University of Arizona and several other people, because part of that digital equity plan regarding cybersecurity is a long-term strategy. And so I think there's some folks that can fit that bill. So I'm working on trying to bring them all together to come up with a proposal that they can collaborate on together. So anyway, that's that. Kelly, you want to introduce yourself and give us an update with what's happening with BEAD?
Sure. Good morning. First, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. I am having some technology issues with my computer this morning. It doesn't like me. So on the phone, apologies for no camera. My name is, I'm the Community Engagement Manager for the State Broadband Office. I get to work with Aaron and do all kinds of fun stuff, making sure everybody knows what's happening with BEAD. And there are no changes since last week. We are right now in review and evaluations, wrapping up those evaluations, heading into negotiations for round one of the applications that were received. And then just as a reminder, that information will be made public in our final proposal after it's approved by NTIA. So, we do get a lot of questions as far as when will we find out who the applicants were, who was selected. It's a long process, and we're about to enter into negotiations with those applicants. And even at that point, once we enter negotiations, it still is not information that's shared. So again, those specific details as far as applicants and who was selected will be a part of that final proposal after it's approved, after the list is approved of subgrantees, and we head into public comments, which will be in October. So I know that that's a long ways away. In the meantime, this also is getting us ready for round two, which is still slated for June 3rd, to open June 3rd, and then shortly before that, we'll have a map available that will show what areas, project areas were picked up in round one and which project areas are available for round two. So start to be on the lookout, I would say, in the next few weeks for details about round two and the trainings. And I use trainings, that term loosely. We'll have some guidance webinars on the application process for round two. And details about that should be coming in the next few weeks. And I think that's it for updates from us.
Okay, any questions for Kelly? Going once, going twice. Okay, thanks, Aaron and Kelly. Appreciate it as always, you guys being here. Mala, you want to kind of give us an update on what's happening both at the state with the state library, as well as all the federal stuff that you follow pretty regularly?
Yes, certainly. There was a
Mala,
fly-in.
Mala, you
Yes.
have to introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. I don't have that. I don't have that billboard in front of me. I gotta get Erin to make me one. I'm Mala Muralidharan. I work at the State Library and the State E-Rate Administrator for Public Libraries. Yes, and I will remember to introduce myself in the future. So last week, ALA as well as Shelby had their fly-in April 2nd and 3rd, and they, they there were more than 40 advocates who joined ALA. And if you hear my grandson in the background, he's getting ready for school. So it's going to be a few minutes more of this noise. And apologize for that in advance. So ALA's fly-in was had about 40 advocates, and they had scheduled 70 meetings. 70. They really went through all of them within that time. They split up and did the meetings and talked about several things, including the urgency of getting IMLS back on track. IMLS is the Institute of Museum and Library Services that funds several activities for the libraries, including the state, all of our state libraries for the Grants to State program. So they also spoke about E-Rate and the Hotspots program, which has been under dispute, or I would say under scrutiny by Ted Cruz and team. And I'll put you a link on Ted Cruz's white paper as soon as I'm done talking. There's also another paper that I'd really like you to look at. I mean, a little news clip, and that is I Love Libraries article. That's a beautiful article with pictures and stuff like that on what happened. So the focus again was on USF. As far as E-Rate was concerned, the focus was on USF, the Universal Service Fund, and the Supreme Court case. We will not hear the Supreme Court decision until mid-June. So let's wait and see what's going to happen. The hotspots case, though, Senator Cruz wanted to bring a CRA to the floor, but looks like there may not be time because of all the other things that are happening. May 12th, it was scheduled for, but we're not sure that it's going to even make it to the floor. And ALA had meetings with several senators, including Senator Young, who was a co-sponsor of the hotspots for E-Rate bill, along with Senator Cruz. But it looks like their team has now decided that they are going to vote against it if it comes to the floor, which is really positive for us. So let's see. Let's wait and see what happens. What else? I'll have Senator Cruz's paper here for you, so I'll put that in the chat. There you go. there's one other thing that I wanted to speak about, and that is the. I think I raised this before that FCC has asked for comments on something they provocatively called delete, delete, delete. Comments are due by 11 comments were due on 4/11, but there is time for the return comments. I think they are reply comments. I think they're due end of April, early May. The recommendations that were made by ALA was mainly to for most libraries they said were applying for less than 10,000. So they wanted an exemption from the competitive bidding, or they wanted us to work with the procurement offices, either the state or the county or their local procurement, and follow those rules rather than tag on additional E-rate regulations onto that. They also said that to stick to the same discount percentage for the whole 5-year period rather than every year change the discount rate. That's the discount rate is based on the NSLP data, the National School Lunch Program, and that's what is used to calculate the discounts that libraries and schools get for E-rate. And the last thing that they commented on was to have a rolling deadline for Category 2. Category 2 applications are for internal connections within the library and schools, and these can be, the request was that they have a rolling deadline so the applications can be done when we need to do it within a 5-year period. So that's, I think that's all I have. Yes, back to you, Steve, unless there are questions.
Any questions for Mala? So Holly, it's good to see you. Anything that you want to add? Holly is our director of the state library. Anything that you want to add?
Not really. We're just, as Mala mentioned, there's still the uncertainty around the federal funding from IMLS and what's going to happen. Our office is actively supporting Attorney General Chris Mays in her efforts to protect the state library's federal grant funding, and we've joined with 20 other states in a lawsuit to prevent the impact of Executive Order 14238 on the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which administers our LSTA, Library Services and Technology Act funding. So this lawsuit from Attorney General Mays and the other plaintiff states was filed on April the 4th, and so we're just, we're waiting for action there. And in the meantime, we're, just experiencing uncertainty about the future.
Any thoughts at this point about what kinds of alternative funding if they don't restore that funding? The IMLA funding?
Well, I mean, as far as for our digital navigator program, which currently is discontinued because of that uncertainty, there's always the grants from ACA, so that's an option, and we're just exploring other possibilities, hoping for the best as far as getting being able to continue with the IMLS funding.
Thanks, Holly. Always good to see you. And Anthony, I don't know if you want to add anything to what Mala and what we just heard.
Thanks, Steve. I think they covered it pretty excellently. So appreciate it.
Sure. So, Lucy, you want to give us a report on what's happening with the new partnership we have, AZBSN and your organization, and what the plans are?
Sure. I'm not necessarily going to share any slides. Let me just speak to what we did because it was pretty exciting, and then I'll share some links in the chat. But we did kick off last week. we presented a new health and education task force for this group. So anybody here that would like to join us every other Thursday, starting last Thursday, so the next one coming up is April 24th, for an hour to roll up your sleeves and dig a little bit deeper into actions and goals for anything that implicates education and health with regards to digital connectivity and broadband access. And so we held our first one, and the agenda was pretty much let's just share ideas so that we can start with some goal setting. And about half of 6 of us showed up. Mala was there, Steve was there. I had my partner, Dr. Rob Gillio, who is a specialist in rural health disparities. We had Holly there, if she's on, yay, representing rural Arizona. And we had another consultant that brought a tech perspective to it. So it was a small but mighty group. And we came up with 4 major goal areas that we will be focusing on in this 10-week period. This is an open door, so anybody can come in at any time. But we're just going to go ahead and set up this task force so we have a beginning, middle, and end on these sprints, and then we will adjust to go as needed. But, you know, one of the, so from Holly, recommended and agreed upon, one of the things that she wanted to see was a replicable and successful story coming out of rural Arizona. So where is there a problem? How can we work together as a task force to fix it? And then how can we go ahead and make sure it's replicable? And we thought that that was awesome as a pilot for rural. Another one was, of course, let's see if we can build a path of sustainability for the health hubs that Mala was able to pilot successfully. Obviously, there's demand there. So what are the tasks and the needs that would need to happen in order to make that happen? So that's one of our goals, create a path of sustainability for healthy taps through libraries and other community anchor orgs to increase telehealth access and support for everybody. The third one was recognizing that it is way bigger than just us. So we challenged all of ourselves to go invite 3 to 5 other folks so that we can instantly increase actionable network and collaboration immediately. And so we are actively doing that. I've already, because of other presentations, have had conversations with community colleges and now part of the State Action Health Network, and we'll be working with school nurses. And so it's just fun to get together and actually have these kind of weekly sprints. And then the last one that we will probably look to launch is a live broadcast. So just a platform starting in May where we can amplify some of these voices and the needs to a more Main Street type of deal. So the next one is April 24th. Again, it is hosted over at the Force for Health Academy. There is absolutely no cost to any of you. You can connect 3 different ways. You can join by Zoom and not do anything, just talk. It really is helpful, though, if you are part of the virtual boardroom, I'll call it, because that is where we're information sharing, and that's where all the documents are shared. And it's just nice to be able to put a comment right there, and you know, no one has to like rewrite it. It's there. And we're doing some project task tracking there also. Or 3, come on in as a group leader. I am offering anybody on this network a free $99 group leader membership with the Force for Health. So I'm not pushing that at all, but it is an offer. Did I miss anything, Steve?
I don't think so. Just a couple of quick things. I will be developing a web page that explains kind of what Lucy just went over. You know, what are the goals? How do you join? What, you know, where's all the links? And then we'll also be including all those, all that information in my newsletter also. So I'm a little delinquent in getting that page done, but we will. So it's very clear about how you participate. As Lucy mentioned, you can either just join the meeting or you can become a member of Force for Health. And I want to just say, Lucy, you've done an incredible job in getting this going and committing the time and resources. So really appreciate that.
Well, thank you. It's only as strong as the people that show up. right? If you show up, your voice is going to be heard and it's going to be assessed and like we can act on it. So that's the
Yeah.
tone I want to take with this.
Any questions for Lucy? Okay, moving on. I don't think Michael Kendall, are you here this morning? Don't think so. Okay, so a couple of other quick things. So Kelly McCurgy, or you, I think you're here, aren't you? Do you want to talk just quickly about the Net Inclusion Conference and the AIDN super meeting that's going to happen right before the conference?
I
Are you
can.
here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Hi,
thank you.
Steve.
I know I just put you on the spot about that.
Good morning, everyone. Kelly Mukherjee from ASU's Enterprise Technology. I support the CIO Lev Gonick in our broadband and digital inclusion efforts. Namely, we have a program called As One. If you're not familiar with our web portal, I will provide a link to our web portal. We are storytelling also. So, Steve, I put out an invitation.
I did see that. Yep.
All right. Give us your availability. We would love to interview you. We've
Okay.
also interviewed several people that come to these meetings. So, Steve, thank you. Your this AZBSN meeting has helped spark other stories to take place. What Steve is referring to, I'll wear my other hat. I'm also on the board of the Arizona Digital Inclusion Network. And so he's referring to a super AIDN meeting that we're trying to have for net inclusion. A flyer that I have prepared thanks to Aaron Larandos was a great example and helped me out last week. So I have the flyer ready this week. There's information here. We invite you all to come join. Net Inclusion is a 3-day conference. It's fabulous. Aaron Larandos and I have met up in different cities across the country to attend this wonderful conference. They're expecting 1,000 people this year. We're both on the local planning committee as well as Steve. And so wonderful, wonderful speakers and panels. But this is a chance for our local team to get together at this Super AIDN meeting to spend a few hours together, really dive deep into what everybody's doing, and then actually have working sessions to figure out how we can work better together. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I am not the lead for AIDN. That's Cindy Hogan, but happy to help connect you with anybody you might need. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Kelly. So just want to encourage you all, if you haven't already registered, that you do want to attend that Net Inclusion Conference. It's really great that we're having this conference here in Arizona. And so we'd certainly like to have good representation, and it's going to be a good opportunity to network not only with people here in Arizona, but throughout the country. So I could just encourage you all to attend that conference. Okay. So anything else? If not, let's get into our presentation this morning. I'm pleased to welcome, and Andy's been here attending our meetings pretty regularly, but Andy Ridley is a regional account representative for the Southwest region for WIN Learning. And he's had a long time. I'm not going to go into it. I'll let him tell you just quickly about himself, but he's had long time involvement with workforce development and with the state for quite a long time. So with that, Andy, I'm going to turn it over to you. And do you want to share? Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, please. I'm still looking to try to see if I can't take that step here. I'm used to Teams now. I used to use Zoom all the time. And then now that I started working for WIN, we use Teams a lot. So I've got to figure out how to share in the, let's see if it's in the more here. All right, somebody give me a little tutorial on how to share my screen. Oh, I tried the green button. I remember now. All right, is that showing up to you guys?
It is.
On the first screen, is it saying Digital Skills Solutions?
Yep.
Okay, great. Let me. Oh, I'm looking at a different thing here. I'm sorry. Just give me another second here to get to my version of it on That's what I need. There it is. Okay, thank you for your patience. Okay, can you, if I move that over there, are you guys seeing that about the meeting on the screen? Do you see anything there that I'm waving at you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good, good. If you can't see it, then good.
I was seeing you.
As long as you don't see that I have over on that screen. All right, you're just seeing this this presentation screen, right? All right, let's get started. So a little bit about Win Learning, headquartered in Kingston, Tennessee, but it's a national company and really international for mostly North America right now. Began preparing for, as a leader, preparing career readiness since 1996. A lot of awards have been given, but the big one on the screen is that we just won for higher education in 2024 for a couple of our products. So we have, we serve a diverse range of educational institutions like school districts, community colleges, libraries, adult education, correction facilities, workforce development agencies, and the businesses themselves. Everything we do is aligned with ONET. If some of these things, I'm going to go through this quickly. If some of these things aren't familiar with you, please just book a little moment to have a chat with me privately, and we'll talk anytime you want. The other key piece is that all of the credentials from our assessments, after successfully passing an assessment, are endorsed by the National Work Readiness Council, which is an independent third-party agency for workforce. Our position is kind of the intersection of career development and validation for a number of models and frameworks. So I'm just quickly going to show you a couple here. Notice in that gray zone, can you see my mouse there if I wiggle it?
Yes.
Okay, so in this gray zone and in this sort of reddish pink zone here is those foundational parts of the pyramid of the building blocks of competency for employment and training administrations. So, notice that it includes, I clicked it. I didn't mean to. I was trying to point. Notice that it includes things like interpersonal skills, professionalism, reading, mathematics, and science and technology, and so forth. Basic computer skills, teamwork, problem solving, the like. I'm skipping through this quickly, just kind of giving you guys a quick overview. So that's the point of view from the Department of Labor. This is the point of view from the Department of Education, kind of a different model here, but you'll notice that very similar kinds of essential skills are outlined, and including employability standards in career technical education and adult education that overlap with what we were just looking at, employability skills and the like. Okay, so again, I'm just snapping through this kind of quickly because I want to get into our focus, of course, in this group is related to digital skills and digital equity and digital access. So the Digital Equity Act, of course, of that $2.75 billion to establish 3 grant programs that promote digital equity inclusion, we're familiar with, right? And our aim is to ensure that all people and communities have the skills, technology, and capacity needed to reap the full benefits of our digital economy. The NTIA has identified 8 covered populations, including aging individuals, incarcerated individuals with disabilities, racial and ethnic minorities, rural residents, etc. 92% of occupations require digital skills, yet 48 million US workers have few or no digital skills. And according to the National Skills Coalition, these skills gaps create a high cost for workers and employers that are invisible drag on productivity as workers struggle to navigate job requirements and spend precious time compensating for their skill gaps, or letting them go, and then the expense is rehiring someone else that, again, they're not going to know if that's going to work, and they'll give it another try. They say that the expense of hiring a new individual is about half a year's salary, all of the process through the acquisition and the training of the new individual. If that individual just gets turned over after 2 months, every 2-3 months, they're spending half a year's salary plus for the couple of months they worked for them, having to pay them. So just a quick look at what are the industries that have a high percentage of workers with little or no digital skills? Well, some pretty broad areas, and all are, in one sense or another, likely to be part of what our Office of Economic Opportunity would deem as in-demand industries. And you know what? I did the same thing, Mala. You're in good company here. I didn't introduce myself. I introduced Win, and I meant to say something about a little bit about my background when I was speaking about Win, and I just kept on moving forward with the slides. So let me give you a little background, is that I recently was working for the Office of Economic Opportunity, which is kind of like Arizona's Department of Labor. Prior to that, working with Arizona at Work for Maricopa County. And my primary focus was in training and advancing people in that sort of method, or helping them through assessments that would provide them good information and data toward choosing a career path and moving forward in that direction. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't really give much of an introduction there, so I'm just skipping past that and moving on.
Thanks, Andy.
I'm trying to be brief, so if anything flashes up here that you want to talk about later, my contact information is on the last slide. Plus, I'm going to drop it in the chat here when I get back to the access of the chat. So every state has a digital opportunity plan, and as a direct response to the Digital Equity Act. You're probably all familiar with ours now, having been part of these meetings for all of the year or so that Aaron's been involved now. And so we're excited about our digital plan. And while the majority of the legislation is to expand broadband, there's a smaller but important piece and to the legislation. After these disadvantaged populations now have access to affordable high-speed internet, they'll need to build their digital skills. And Learning provides a personalized portal to serve the individual needs of our partners in building a better workforce. So this is kind of a screenshot of what the access looks like from the administrator point of view. The next slide kind of shows the student point of view or the learner point of view. I'm not sure what to call it in the case of, we just typically would call it a learner or student. So I'm just throwing those out. Detailed reports, a detailed resource center, although our services also automatically will include training and support and technical support as part of the service. It's a very hands-on, high-touch business, not an off-the-shelf, here's the product, go use it, whatever fits for you, figure that out for yourself kind of business. No, we're the ones that are going to help you customize it, make it work for you. And let me move to again, we have several courseware options that are not related to digital, but in that same realm of career readiness, such as soft skills, academic skills like math and reading and data analysis in the workplace. And they're all supported in a similar fashion with a similar view from the administrator or from the student view. But you can see in the digital aspect, the training involves computer operations. This is the basic hardware and devices, internet use, digital communication. You know, this is in a sense all of the emails and the texts and the you know, the Zoom meetings like we're in right now. Digital documents, all of the standard documents that either Office or Apple or Google would typically use, including slides like we're doing now, or a doc, or a power, or a spreadsheet, and how to also share those within your entity. In other words, you know, teams working together with a digital, like a Google Drive or something like that. And then, of course, the key piece is the security also. By focusing on technologies and processes most often used in the workplace, when learning digital skills ensures that learners have the necessary digital literacy skills needed in the workplace. I kind of already mentioned the digital security piece there, but this is a little sample of what a learning slide might be like. So there's an explanatory, and then there's some follow-up. Our approach is a standard instructional common use. And so part of my background was also in education and education leadership for a number of years before I went into workforce. And we typically call that that I do, meaning the instructor do, we do, instructor and learner together, and then you do approach to instruction. So while this is a online instructional format, we're still incorporating as much of that I do, we do, you do approach. And as a side note too, every aspect of the instruction in the courseware here is workplace context. So it's not theoretical, it's not hypothetical. You're not going to learn spreadsheets that are looking at, you know, how many blue marbles in an assortment of blue, red, and green marbles might you choose if you pulled them out of a basket, kind of theoretical things. Do anybody remember doing those in high school when we were learning probability or something like that? It's nothing theoretical. It's going to be workplace based. As I mentioned, each of the credentials we have, and therefore the digital skills credential, is endorsed by the National Work Readiness Council. So it's a national credential. A couple of you on the meeting might be familiar. When I used to work for the state, we had a state credential that was branded for Arizona. I don't even want to mention it now because it's defunct in the sense that it's been canceled and defunded. So the key here is that this is a national credential. The other key here is that the earner of this, and this is by passing the proctored assessment of the digital skills, that's the culminating event after using the courseware to develop your skills. You show an employer with this credential on the back what specific skills you have based on passing the credential. And various other bits of information can refer the employer to, for example, the National Work Readiness Council to understand their endorsement of the product, or a number to get information about WIN and about the product. A little bit more, I kind of already started talking about them. The National Work Readiness Council, formed over almost 20 years ago by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce with support from the U.S. Department of Labor, National Institute for Literacy, founding partners in different departments of labor and career departments across different states. That the key here is that they're endorsing all of the WIN learning credentials. So besides the digital skills credential, the soft skills credential, and the academic skills credential, which includes 3 components of work reading, and work data analysis. All right, here's the promised contact information, and I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Andy?
Andy, is there an assessment or evaluation of your understanding once you do it?
Yeah, and I worked pretty fast on that, but there's that proctored assessment at the end, and that's what's endorsed by the National Work Readiness Council. So it's a 1 hour assessment, proctored. So this is in comparison to some of the competitors that claim that they have an assessment. Well, that's just a self-assessment that anybody can do and might put your name on it. And if they were smart and put your name on it, you look like you earned a credential. This is a proctored credential. So the entities that adopt this will have trained individuals for proctoring the assessment.
And is the proctoring done online, or do they have to go somewhere to get it done?
Well, during COVID, we developed an online procedure, but it is a lot higher protocol to accomplish that. So it's preferred to be done, in the in-person setting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Andy, can you describe, so how do you engage with this system? Is it employer-based? Is it individual-based? And what's that model look like?
Let me try to answer that and see if I know what you're talking about. In other words, who purchases this product? And okay, so we're looking at, and I kind of rattled through this kind of quickly, okay, education institutions, libraries, correctional facilities, workforce offices, and including employers too, for that matter. They use it for onboarding and or new hires as a probationary tool, or maybe even as simple as a screening tool or something like that. They can be the entity. So it's not individual, where an individual buys an access and uses it from home. They're going to an entity, for example, let's say a library or a CTE program at a high school, or an adult education program at a community college. The institution purchased the access, provides them the username and password that gets them into the courseware. They're the ones that also have the trained individuals that would be proctors for the assessment. The assessment is a 1 hour pass or no pass, probably kind of a 76% echelon in order to count it as passing, or otherwise they don't earn the credential, because otherwise it's not a standardized, valid, and secure credential. Did that answer what you were kind of wanting to understand?
Well, just one follow-up question. Is it per use, or is it a license to administer
So yeah, think of it as a software as a service. It's a license to use, and the entity would either have a 1 year or multi-year contract. Typically it's 1 year, but year by year we look at renewal and whatever else would be added to that as time goes on. The reason I'm in this meeting, for example, is I'm seeing this as an opportunity that the entities that might be applying for the digital equity grant might either include this as part of their proposal. And, we have a white paper for the digital skills product that we have, that if they wanted to use that, or post being awarded the grant, how can they implement some of their solutions that are training for digital skills. We see it as the training is the courseware, but the big value is in the culminating event of taking that proctored assessment, walking away with a credential in your hand that you can include on a resume, in a portfolio as you go to an interview, and show an employer, look, I'm ready to work for you because I have these skills.
Helpful. Thank you.
Other questions for Andy?
I was curious just because the opening of the window is coming up quickly. And so, like, if, let's just say one thought was, we want 100% of the kids in Pima County to come out and be graduated with this digital certification, right? Is that like $5 a head, $3 a head, $10 a head? Is it like, is there any way that like what a cost per high school activation could look like for 1,000 kids or something? I just don't know if you're priced like a Mercedes, a Honda, or like a used car in there.
Respect to that being very broad, and I didn't give a proper sales presentation or a demonstration here. I'm going to reserve that particular piece, but let me say this much. We're competitive with pricing against any of our competitors. It's typically related to the number of students, because you kind of mentioned like for 1,000 students or something like that. It's typically related to that, or users, let's call it, because if it's a library, you don't want to consider your clientele the students. But if you imagine in a year that 1,000 are going to use it throughout the year, either the courseware or take the assessments, and those would be priced in a bundle together. Then, if you assumed that you were going to just use the courseware, could be an a la carte sort of approach there, but still based on number of students. And for fairness, for people that are listening that are wondering, well, how will I ever know if this is going to fit in my budget? It would be a few, maybe a couple dozen students, but a minimum of a $5,000 purchase for us to just stay in business. We can't be working something lower than that, because we are a group approach.
So $5,000 for about 50 learners or whomever is a nice target to consider budget-wise. If we were to include that. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But again, I say that with reservation.
No, I hear you. Listen, I'm tech also. I think that there's good synergy, and it's nice that you're kind of all wrapped up and you're coming in from former leadership of the state, so if there are gaps and this could be priced out and paid for, it'd be great, especially as digital navigation and, the libraries are just feeling the pain. But anyways, thanks, Andy.
Yeah. And while we're talking, I put in my contact information. Also, if you want to go investigate Win Learning directly, there's that website there. All right, Steve, how did I do on time?
You're good, Andy. You're good. Any other questions for Andy? Hey, any other announcements?
It's World Hemophilia Day. So just think about your blood, and if you have healthy blood, be grateful. And if you don't, there are resources, and if you know somebody,
go
be
give
empathetic.
blood. Please go
Exactly.
give blood. My
Exactly.
mother passed away because of a blood disease, so
Oh, really? Oh,
definitely give blood if you have healthy blood.
absolutely.
Paul, anything you want to add to?
Just want to say that if you want to look at some of the previous updates provided by Steve, if you're still interested in participating in my PhD interview process, there is a link that was provided in previous times to be able to sign up to express your interest. And believe me, most of you actually already qualify because you've done presentations relating to the topic. So please check out the information, and hopefully we can talk soon.
Paul, can you just give a little more background about what it is you're looking for, what
Yeah,
kind of
basically.
information you're
Yeah,
trying to
basically.
gather?
What I'm doing as part of my PhD study is I'm building a conceptual model of the digital divide to look at the barriers, the solutions, and the challenges from multiple perspectives. Traditionally, a lot of what has been done relating to the digital divide is very focused on access, and I go well beyond access. I'm also including technology aspects as well. And so this will probably be the most comprehensive model of the barriers, challenges, and solutions to the digital divide that's been ever developed based on my initial information. But I'm looking forward to being able to wrap this up in about 3 to 4 months. And a key piece is the interview process. But I've already analyzed, actually, as an example, over 700 different videos on the topic from YouTube, from numerous entities from around the world. So I'm looking forward to interviewing some folks to be able to outline the model that I've currently got developed and get feedback and input to be able to then come out with a final model in a few months.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
So I have a question for those of you who have been involved with digital navigators. What have we been looking at in terms of system support? So I can tell you that I've been through a lot of challenges with my computer in recent times, and I'm somewhat sophisticated, but fortunately, I have contacts with a lot of people who can help me walk through that stuff. So I'm just wondering, as we talk about digital navigation, um, how are we helping people who run into system-related issues? Um, do we have a mechanism for providing that kind of technical support? Or mechanisms, I should say.
I think you've got your standard, street facing shop, right? That is an option. You have then maybe organizations like Arizona Strut, if he's still on, Jared, potentially those nonprofits that are interfacing with maybe seniors and or those that are less digital literate. I don't know, Jared, do you help hands-on with people when they have system issues at all?
We don't do as much direct tech support. We do more general like instruction and training sessions and device distribution. But we do have schools that we're partnered with, and I know that at least up until recently, and possibly still, East Valley Institute of Technology, or EVIT, they've been open to the public and allowed the students to work with the community and help them with their tech issues, and that's been pretty successful.
Oh, I love that. Like a student empowered thing.
Yeah, a student tech support thing. It's an
Yeah.
experience for the students, and it's a community service.
I think
So,
a lot of the, I think a
go
lot
ahead,
of the
Paul.
tech support, a lot of tech support was previously provided by digital navigators and libraries. To be frank, the libraries are a key point for a lot of people for support if they don't have any other formalized structure in place. That seems to be but it is actually a very important issue for a lot of folks. It is regarded as a barrier and a constant challenge.
I mean,
Gordon,
go ahead, Gordon.
yeah, Gordon Fuller here. I was just going to say, people with disabilities. Oh, please, from the children all the way to aging adults, it's a huge problem. There really is absolutely no bridge. I know people that are professionals who have been losing their eyesight recently from macular degeneration,
Oh
and
my
they
gosh,
have
that's my
and
dad.
and they have iPhones, film editors and stuff and such, and trying to talk them through how to use those tools for accessibility, such as the things I use, is very difficult. And a lot of it's mindset as much as anything, but it's really the culture. We don't have a culture that's encouraging or uplifting when people find themselves on the other side of the digital divide. I'd be glad to talk to you about that, Paul. Thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments?
I just think I think it is critical that the local councils on aging are all connected in with like this topic, because those centers can be instant training centers for the seniors, which to me are the most vulnerable to be lost with the digital divide, because they are closest to health issues and the negative impacts of that disconnection. And then I think obviously the schools, there are here in Tucson, closed down schools that then pop back up as computer labs that are more community serving and facing. And of course, the libraries to me are the three main places I think that I'd love to go to spot check.
I'll just say a 22% employment rate for people with disabilities in the population. That says it all right there. I mean, 22%. According to Social Security, 68% of the people who receive disability income from Social Security would work if they could, but they can't. There's no opportunities for them. So it's just a huge tragedy. And no one would choose to live in such abject poverty. There's no real support, in the social safety net. They haven't updated in 40 years. So not a good deal. So please help people with disabilities. They're the most difficult, the most challenged, and they represent every single other group of our society. Anyone can join anytime.
One of the things that I can say is that as a digital navigator, one of the things that I work to do is not just teach people basic skills, but teach them how to be confident so that they try things. Because I know I've seen a lot of times people are afraid to push the button. Oh my God, my phone's going to die if I do that. And so teaching them how to have the confidence to say, okay, this worked on this, maybe this will work with this, so that they will try things. And then also teaching them, hey, have you tried doing a Google search? Have you tried looking on YouTube? Because YouTube, they may be able to walk you through it. So teaching them how to find the resources, and just because there are resources, but teaching people how to not be afraid.
Good point. Any other thoughts, comments?
Well, a hyper focus to me, I think, is making sure that those at most risk, vulnerably health wise, are all connected to their patient portals. And if they need to have a confidence, at least with their patient portals, and then of course their pharmacies. If people that are just connected with patient portals and pharmacies, they are on a much sturdier, foundation to make sure that they're not falling between the cracks. That's just a hyper focus area that we think as we look at rural and seniors, quite frankly.
Okay. Anything else for today? I'm going to stop recording, and if anybody still wants to stay on and keep it for a while longer,